All right, so we have a couple dozen Democrats coming today for a field hearing to discuss Trump's deadly assault on Minnesota. Your response to the claims that ICE and his mission is unconstitutional sometimes or overly aggressive sometimes?
Hmm. It's interesting that I wonder if our colleagues, Angie Craig, Ilhan Omar, Kelly Morrison, I wonder if they're going to ask questions now, because they wouldn't ask any questions about the $9 billion in fraud when that hearing was just held within the last couple of weeks in Washington, D.C. In fact, they were just dead silent. Now, I'm not sure what they think they're accomplishing if they're getting involved in this, because the bottom line is, Karen, we have federal law enforcement agents in every state in the union, and they include immigrations and custom enforcement agents. In fact, these people are our neighbors in Minnesota. They go to church with us. Their kids play with our kids. These are Minnesotans. They have a job to do, and it's interesting that we've got leadership, starting with the governor, who literally is telling Minnesotans to fight them. Do whatever you can to stop them. I mean, he sounds like Jefferson Davis of the Confederacy, that he wants to secede from the Union and fight with federal authorities. I think the most productive thing that could happen here is if Tim Walz would just shelve his hatred for Donald J. Trump. And I understand he doesn't like him, and that's fine. Everybody gets to choose who they like and dislike. It's fine. But just shelve that for a time being and do what states all over the union are doing. Think about this. There's no discussion about surging resources to Virginia. The same activities are happening in Virginia. There's no discussion about surging resources to Florida, where we know there's a huge illegal population that they're dealing with. There's no discussion about surging resources to Texas or Utah or anywhere else. It's just Minnesota. And that is all because Tim Walz and the people around him, the leadership, are telling people that they should fight federal law enforcement agents. When you want to settle this thing down, because people keep asking me, the easiest way to calm things down, local law enforcement should be given the authority from Tim Walz, Jacob Fry, anyone else that they answer to, Keith Ellison, to cooperate and to work with the immigration and customs enforcement's law enforcement agents, and everything will calm down very quickly.
What do you think about the president's threat to enact the Insurrection Act?
Again, I understand the frustration. You've got a governor who, I mean, he might as well be Jefferson Davis the way he's behaving, Karen. I mean, he stands up there and he says, take your phones out, videotape everything, obstruct. By the way, the terrible tragedy that happened in Minneapolis a little more than a week ago was totally unavoidable. Nobody's talking about the fact that local law enforcement, as a matter of practice, provide the perimeter. They protect the perimeter while federal law enforcement executes search warrants, deals with the worst of the worst. And I wish people would publish the names of some of these people that they have apprehended and are removing. These are the worst of the worst. These are rapists. These are murderers. And what's scary is that many of them, in fact, all the ones that I've seen so far, already had deportation orders outstanding. One, a murder, goes all the way back to 2002. I wish our governor and I wish the potty-mouthed mayor in Minneapolis would just start to think about the safety and security of Minnesota citizens and stop trying to create an us and them with the federal government. You're not going to secede from the union. We do need to get these people off our streets. We need to put Minnesotans and law-abiding, tax-paying citizens, we need to put their safety first, and we need to work with the federal government to take care of this problem.
Is there anything about ICE tactics or strategy that does concern you? There was a case where they busted into a home with an administrative warrant rather than a judicial warrant. Ultimately, a judge decided that that was unconstitutional, that was illegal, whatever, and ended up setting the person they took into custody free because of that. Is there anything that concerns you about the tactics?
I think our law enforcement agents are doing exactly what they're supposed to do. A lot of these stories, Karen, when you dig into them, certainly you're going to have the odd one off. But when you dig into them, there are facts that weren't provided, right? And you realize, oh, there's more to this, because that's what we're doing. Whenever I see this, I want to know all of the facts before I rush out and say, oh, this is awful. They shouldn't be doing that. You know, the reality is we've got a governor who should be celebrating these brave men and women for doing the job they're doing. He should be allowing them to work with local law enforcement. Instead, he and Keith Ellison refuse to allow local law enforcement to use the detainers, the immigration detainers. So guess what? There's no choice because you can't hold the bad people in the jail. You have to let them go because Tim Walz and Keith Ellison have told you they'll sue you if you keep them in your jail and wait for the immigration and customs enforcement officer to show up and retrieve them. So now they have to go into communities. And I'll add the one additional piece. These people want to do their job. They're legally obligated to do their job, and they want to do it in the safest, most respectful manner possible. But anybody who's watching this, why don't you trade places with one of these good people, again, who many of them live in our communities and go to church with us, and we see them in the grocery store. You may not know they're a federal law enforcement officer, but they live amongst us. These guys are being vilified by Tim Walz. I mean, he's called them the modern day Gestapo, all these terrible things. So, and now he's telling people to actively go after them. You saw the one a couple nights ago where 3 of these illegals, thugs, were beating one of these guys with snow shovels, and thankfully that didn't turn out bad. But this is, you put yourself in their shoes. They don't know who's going to come after them next. They're out on the street and they've got to look at everybody that is a potential threat. I mean, I know of one incident that I know that the local police chief's very upset about it, but somebody got pulled over on his department on their way home from work. The federal agents saw that this person was armed, was carrying a weapon, so they drew their weapons. The individual that they pulled over identified herself as a peace officer, at which point they reholstered their weapons and they verified that this person was, in fact, a peace officer, and on her way she went. Now, Minnesotans might hear that story in one thing and go, that's awful that they stopped him. Well, you don't know why they stopped them, and you don't know, you're not in their shoes when you have Governor Tim Walz, Jacob Fry, all these politicians saying, go after these people. Well, their lives are important too, Karen. So that's what I'd say is, are people going to be perfect every time? Perhaps not. But you know what? This will settle down very quickly. If Tim Walz and company will just shelve their hatred for our president, that is not the issue they should be concerned with. The issue they should be concerned with is the safety and security of Minnesota citizens. Let's help each other get the worst of the worst off our streets and out of our state. And I think they're starting to wave at me because you know that today's kind of packed. So if you got one more, let's do it, and then.
One more. Have you spoken to the president about what's happening here?
You know, not in the last week. And especially not in the last 48 hours, because I understand. What I've been trying to do is talk to people about our Minnesotans. Tim Walz, dial it down. Dial it down. Stop pretending that you're the new leader of the Confederacy and that you're going to fight with the federal government, because all you're doing is enraging, a small group, by the way. The vast majority of Minnesotans I'm hearing from, Karen, are saying, thank you. Please tell these law enforcement agents, we want them here. We want them doing their job. But no, the local paper, the politicians, and in some cases, I believe paid agitators and others are getting all spun up. And that's, if they knew the facts, I think more people would say, Governor, please just tone it down. We know you hate Donald Trump. Just put Minnesotans first and let's cooperate the way we're supposed to. I'm telling you, that incident never would have happened if Jacob Fry and company had given Brian O'Hara the ability to set up the perimeter around that site. so they could do their job in a peaceful, lawful way.
All right.
We've got to avoid more of that.
Thank you, Congressman. I appreciate it. Good luck with your day.
Thank you, Karen.